Thanks for tuning in to another video. I am Stacy, the creator of Twisted Kinks Crochet, and in today's video, I'm going to give you 10 items that you can do in about an hour. Very simple, beginner friendly, and I use one skein of yarn to make all of these items. I'm also going to give you my review of Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson, and I think that'll be it. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, let's get started. Good Dirt, published in 2025, 346 pages. The book follows Ebony Freeman, who was she and her family thrust into the spotlight when she was 10 years old. She and her brother were home. There were some intruders. Her brother was shot and killed, and a family heirloom was also shattered and destroyed. So at 10 years old, she's had to deal with this trauma. And then at 18 years later, she's about to get married, except the fiance leaves her at the altar. So now you have trauma on top of trauma. She goes away to France to kind of find herself and heal from all of this. And that's where she discovers that there's so much more to that day and the loss of her brother and the loss of the jar, and how she can turn that loss into something more positive. She begins to start writing the stories of old Mo and the stories that have been passed down from generations. Old Mo is what they call the jar. The jar came, was in their family for centuries, and it came to New England with one of the ancestors from South Carolina. There's an inscription on the bottom of the jar that I think is what held the family together and pushed the family forward through all of the things that they had to deal with, from, slavery to emancipation and freedom, and then building a life. So when Ebony she goes away to France to start to heal, she is interrupted by an unexpected encounter with her former fiance. Some of the chapters, I will say, felt a little unnecessary. It was also hard to follow the family tree. I almost had to draw out a family tree in order to keep it all together and keep it all straight. But at the end of it all, the resilience, the ancestral impact that this jar had, the grief that she experienced, the healing that she had to go through, it really was a book that I could relate to. And I was rooting for her. Like, I was cheering for her and the whole family throughout this book. So, Good Dirt, Charmaine Wilkerson. Love the story. Love old Mo. And like I said, I was rooting for Ebby and the whole family throughout the whole book. And it ended in a very beautiful way. So, yes, I would recommend this book. And that is my book talk. Now let's talk about the projects. I had one skein of yarn that was given to me. I did not know the brand or the colorway. It was just given to me, and who's going to reject a skein of yarn? Not me. So I decided I'll just see how many projects I can make with that one skein of yarn. With a 5.5 millimeter hook that I got from the Dollar Tree set. Of course, scissors, darning needle. Those are all the things that you're going to need. All of these items took about an hour, give or take. So I first started with a Slouchy Beanie. This Slouchy Beanie took me about an hour and 20 minutes. Start off with the magic circle, 10 double crochets in the circle. You increase for 6 or 7 rows, however many rows you want to go. And then you just keep going straight double crochets until you get the length that you want it to be. And I want it to be a little bit slouchy, so I went longer than my normal 17 rows. I always do a row of single crochets at the end and then sew it all in. And that is the Slouchy Beanie. You can go as long as you want on this, depending on how much slouch you want to give. Next, I did a twisted headband. Started with a chain of 13, came back down with a row of single crochets. The remainder of the project was done with half double crochets. I kept going until I got the length that would fit around my head, obviously. And then you take I'm going to show you this way. So you'll take your ends, fold them together like so, and then you bring them together like this. So you have 4 pieces that you need to sew through. You sew through that, and that's how you get the twist of the headband. I also did a scrunchie. Very easy. Get a scrunchie and you'll go through with single crochets. So you take your yarn, go through here, wrap it around, and then you just do single crochets all the way around your scrunchie. You'll want to slide the single crochets to make sure that it's going to cover the scrunchie completely. Once you get back to the beginning, slip stitch and then do 3 doubles or half doubles or trebles, depending on how big you want your ruffles to be. Do 3 in each stitch. I did 3 double crochets in each stitch to get this effect. So if I wanted to do another round of singles or another round of half doubles, I would just do that in each stitch. 3 in each stitch, and it'll become bigger and fluffier and rufflier. And very simple. This probably took about 20 minutes. Real easy. And then I did a satchel. 2 granny squares. Sew them up, side, bottom, and the other side. And then I did 2 chains long enough that will pass through both sides of the top. One I wove this way, the other chain I wove that way so that my satchel would cinch up like so. Very easy. I did 5 rounds on each granny square, and this can be used for a pouch for anything. Or anything you think you can use a little satchel for, you can do. 2 granny squares, sew up 3 sides, make a chain, make 2 chains the same length, and then weave them in and out at the top to cinch it closed. I also did what I'm calling a little envelope bag. This is the same type of, and it is 1 granny square, 1 large granny square. I use this to make my book covers, book pouches, and I will give a little video of that later on. But you make your granny square. Now say this is an unfinished project. So this is my granny square. You turn it into a diamond shape, and then you bring up your bottom point and the 2 side points. That's how you make your bag. You'll sew up the sides, and then that leaves your top for the closure. So this is what it looks like when it's open. Then we get to some of the smaller items. This is a little gummy bear, I guess you could call it. It is made with single crochets, bobble stitches for the ears, the arms, and the legs. It starts with a magic circle for the top, and then you crochet it down and then sew up at the ends, sew up at the bottom. And I will link the video that I used to make this little gummy bear. You can make these in all different colors, and then you can also add a little keychain or something to the top and attach it to a bag, your keys, just anything as just a little decoration for your desk, in your car, anything. Also, this Angy Cup, also made with single crochets, and you start with your magic circle, you single crochet 6 in the magic circle, increase for a few rounds, and then start just single crocheting in the round until you get it to the height that you want it to be. This one was 7 rounds of single crochets. Then you make the top, and since this is green, I decided that it would be a green top. So the top would be your coffee color, but I decided I would keep it green and make it like a matcha. Do your little facial expression. I made several of these a couple years ago, and it was so much fun seeing how many different facial expressions I could make for these. For the handle, you just do a chain, secure it to the cup with a darning needle. I did a chain that was a little bit longer. I wrapped it around, and then I threaded my darning needle up through the chain so that it would add a little more stability. And you can see how I wrapped my chain around itself and did a round of single crochets in reverse to create this rim and the look of this rim at the top. If you do random acts of crochet kindness where you just do little things, drop them off to be found, like you put them in a baggie and drop them off and just let people find them and keep them, and it's just to brighten up their day or whatever, these will be good items that you can use for that, along with the heart. This heart was made with treble crochets and double crochets and chain spaces. Start with the magic circle. You do three treble crochets in the magic circle, 3 double crochets, chain 1, do a treble for your point, and then you do the same thing in reverse on the other side. A treble, 3 doubles, 3 trebles, and then slip stitch in the center. You have a nice little decorative heart. So many different possibilities you can do with this. Make several of them and attach them for like a garland, or sew them onto a shirt, a sweater. The book pouch that I did, you can sew it onto that. So many different possibilities for this, but that all 3 of these, this probably takes about 15 minutes for the heart. The cup and the bear, probably about 30, 45 minutes, very quick. And then I did a hand sanitizer holder. So these are the viral hand sanitizer. You can get them from Dollar Tree, but everybody goes crazy over these different colors, different scents. And so I just started with a chain long enough to fit the bottom. I single crocheted down one side of the chain. Once I got to the end, I did 2 single crochets in that end stitch. And then you come around the other side of that single crochet. And I did 2 in that. And then when I got around to my beginning, I did 2 single crochets in the last stitch, 2 single crochets in the stitch coming around. And then I just did single crochets for as many rows as I needed in order to fit my hand sanitizer. I did picot stitches for a decorative element around the top. And to do that, you just single crochet in the stitch, then you'll chain 2 or 3. I did chain 2, and then I slip stitch back into that same stitch that you did your single crochet. Slip stitch in the next stitch, and then repeat a single crochet, chain 2 or 3, slip stitch back into that same stitch, and just do that all the way around. And then I did a little handle. So again, you can do a keychain and tie it to your bag, put it on your bag, on your keychain, hanging in your car somewhere. But there's the hand sanitizer holder, another quick project, about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on what you got going on. Because sometimes I'm watching shows and I get a little distracted, so it takes me a little bit longer. And then the final thing is the plant hanger. Y'all know how I like my plants. So I thought to do a little plant hanger, and this starts with a magic circle, 8 single crochets in the magic circle, and then you come around with chains and singles. So very easy. You chain 3, and then you single crochet in the double crochet from the bottom. Then you chain 3, and you keep doing that all the way around. And then if you want to increase it, because obviously the pot is getting bigger as you go. The pot is getting bigger as you go up. So chain 3 and then do your single crochet. Then the next round, you might want to chain 5 and do your single crochet in the chain space, chain 5, single crochet in the chain space. And then for the next row, you'll either do the chain 5 to just keep going up, or you'll want to go out and do a chain 7, single crochet in the chain space, chain 7, single crochet in the same space, until you get it to the point where you're just going straight up. And then for the top, I just did a round of single crochets to give it a finished off look. I did a chain of, I think, 50 on this one from one end, and then I carried that over to the other side, attached it, and then I did slip stitch all the way around till I got to a point where I wanted my second chain to go. And then I did my chain there and then attached it to the other side. So easy. And golly, a good 30 minutes on this one. So all these little projects you can get done in about an hour, depending on how fast you crochet and depending on how big you want to make your project. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for sticking around and spending a little bit of your day with me today. That does it for the video. We have 10 items on the table, 1 skein of yarn, 1 hour, give or take, for each one of these items. We talked about good dirt. You want a feel good book? I think this is one that you would like, so give it a try. Before I get out of here, I want to ask you to do me a favor and like this video, subscribe to my little old channel, and leave a comment if you decide to try one of these 10 items. And that'll do it for me. I will meet you guys back here in the next video. Bye. This I might keep because I think this is so cute. Little Gummy. I can't wait to make more of these.